This week we will be jumping into Illustrator to find out all about a great little tool palette called the Pathfinder. I was thoroughly intrigued when I first learned about this little treasure in college, and I think you will be just as pleased once you see all the amazing tricks that this tool palette has in store for your Illustrator shapes. So, if everyone is ready, I guess I will get right into my brand new tutorial entitled How to Use the Illustrator Pathfinder Palette. The first thing that you want to do is open Illustrator. Then open a new document. You can type Control N or go up here to the File, New, and we'll name this Pathfinder since that's what I'll be working with. The document is 800 pixels by 600 pixels and the color mode is RGB. Click OK. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is create a shape to work with. I will be creating a triangle and a rectangle, like an arrow. So I want to use the rectangle tool to create this part here of the arrow, and let's choose a color. I've got my fruits and vegetables gradients open, and I'll use this for my fill. And then next I want to create a triangle, and that would be in the rectangle tool. Come down to the polygon tool and then create your polygon just like that. Click on the polygon and then you can choose your sides. For the triangle I want 3 sides. Click OK and we can get rid of this first shape here. Okay, let's rotate this triangle around a bit so it looks more like an arrow. Just, oh, it's a little crooked. I'll try and straighten it up a tad bit here. Okay, that looks a little bit better. For the next step, we have to make sure that we have both of these selected. Select the first object on the canvas and then hold down the Shift key and click on the second object, or you can just draw a select around it to select both objects at the same time. Now we want to go and open the Pathfinder. To open the Pathfinder, you go to the top menu, go to Window, and come down, and here's Pathfinder right here. I have mine open already. You can see it right here. I'll just move mine out a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. The panel itself contains 2 rows of icons. The shape mode, that's this row right here. The top row is the shape mode, and there is a 2-step process to it. When you get done altering the shape, you must click on the expand button at the end of this row to commit to the changes that you made right here. The second row is the Pathfinder's row. You will not need to use the expand button to commit to any changes that you made after clicking on the icons that you choose with the Pathfinder row. The first thing that we want to do is combine 2 shapes. In order to combine your shapes, you must make sure that both of them are selected on the canvas. It will not work if you only have 1 shape. You must have at least 2 shapes for this to work. And then to combine your 2 shapes, all you have to do is Alt-click on this first icon right here. So hold down Alt and click the icon, and then you have access to this expand button. If you don't hold down the Alt key, when you click on the first icon or any of the icons in this row, you will not have access to this expand button. And then expand it. You can tell that the middle items right here disappeared. This is where the 2 items were connecting to each other. They're no longer 2 separate items, they are now just one. they've been united with the first icon. Okay, let's undo that. Control Z will undo that and make your two shapes again. Remember, we have to have at least two shapes in order for any of these icons here or any of these tools here to work. The next tool is the minus front. So we're going to click on the minus front right here, but you have to do Alt click. Remember to do Alt click in order to have access. And then click on the expand button. And you can see that the front shape has indeed disappeared. And that's your minus front. Now let's Control Z to get back, or we can get back by going to the edit. Just like that. What I want to do here is to turn this around. Okay, select both items again. You have to have two items selected. And then Alt click on this one. I want to do the same one again to show you that it's kind of like a cookie cutter. And then expand it. And there you have that shape cut out. So the minus front will also cookie cut two shapes. So that ends up to be a rather useful method if you needed something cut out just like this. Okay, let's Control Z that again and undo what we did. We want to go back to our original shapes. Okay, and there's our original shapes right there. The next one that we want to do is the intersect. So select your two shapes on the canvas. We can draw a select around it. And then Alt click on the intercept. And you can see that the only thing left is this middle piece right here. Everything else has been cut away. Okay, expand that. And we just have that one little shape right there left on the canvas. And that's your intersect. Control C to get that back. Alright, the next tool that we want to work with in this tool palette is called Exclude. And that's the fourth icon in the Pathfinder palette. We want to Alt click on that icon. And that just removes that tiny little part. Okay, let's expand that. So that would be a rather useful technique if you wanted that center section cut out for some reason. Okay, Control and Z to undo that and get your original two pieces back. Now we're going to work on the second row, the Pathfinder's row. And the first item is divide. To divide it, you want to click on the first icon in the bottom row of the Pathfinder. You don't need to Alt click. This will divide the two shapes, but in order for this to work, after clicking the divide icon, you must deselect both shapes and then reselect the one that you want to move. You need to use the direct selection tool and then reselect the shape that you want to move. You have one of the shapes coming out of there is from the rectangle, and one of the shapes coming out of there is from the triangle. So you have two small shapes here. And you would divide it if you wanted to use all of these shapes for a project. So that's your divide button. So let's Control Z and go back to the two shapes. Okay, reselect all your shapes on the canvas once again. The next tool that we want to work with is the trim. It's the second icon on the bottom row, so make sure you select both of your objects on the page. Click trim. This will trim your top item off of the lower item, but in order for this to work, after clicking the trim icon, you must deselect both shapes and reselect the center one with the direct selection tool. Okay, now we're going to get rid of these two shapes. Okay, we're going to create two new shapes on the canvas. One of them is going to be the star. And one of them, I think I'll use a box, but you can use any shape you want. And they have to be the same color for merge. And we can't use something like a gradient. It has to be a solid color. Gradient doesn't seem to work very well. First of all, we have to select our two objects on the canvas. And then we can come over here and click merge. Okay. And as you can see, your item has been merged together on the canvas. They're no longer two separate objects. You can Control Z to get back to your two objects, but we are going to just delete them off the page anyways. We want some other objects right now. We're going to be using 3 different objects. We'll start with the polygon tool. Deselect it. We'll change the color for our next object. We'll do a star. Deselect it. And let's see, we'll do another color here. Let's do blue. And what shape to use? I guess we'll just use the ellipse tool. Holding down Shift key to make a circle. Okay, there's our 3 shapes on the canvas. The next one is outline. Outline can be useful for trappings, for printing. First, select your items. You have to select all of them. Then come up here and click on outline. It will be the 5th icon on the bottom row in the Pathfinder. And in order for the outlines to show up, you do have to make sure that you have a stroke. So let's go to the swatches and create a stroke. And now you have just the outlines of the objects. I do believe that we've skipped over crop. So we're going to go back to crop and show you what that one was. So let's undo. And then I'm going to do crop. Okay, we want to make a square over the top of it, because the square rectangle is what we're going to use to crop the 3 shapes on the canvas. Make sure you select all your objects on the page first. Then come up to the 4th tool and click on crop. And this is like a picture frame. It frames whatever you had inside that square. Okay, let's undo that. Control Z. The last one's going to be minus back. You want to click on the 6th item in the Pathfinder palette. That's the minus back. Make sure that all your items are selected on the canvas. Draw a select around it, and then click on minus back. And that has an interesting look to it. That just kind of cookie cuts out everything inside of that square. Well, that's all there is to learning the basics of the Pathfinder palette and all of its tools. This is Stars and Dust signing off until next time.